welcome, first of all, Ashley, formerly Ashley Bird, now Ashley Moore.
Yeah.
Um, what year did you actually get started with us?
I'm pretty sure it was 2013. Pretty sure.
Awesome. And then when you originally discovered UFE, you were over in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And are you from Newfoundland originally?
No, I'm actually from Alberta originally, but I grew up in Prince Edward Island.
Geez, you're all over the place. You are a true Canadian. You've been to like almost every province now.
Pretty much.
Right? So from Alberta, then PEI, then Newfoundland, and now we're in Ontario. But when you first discovered UFE, you were in Newfoundland, and how did you discover us out there?
Well, I used to work at a gym called Heavyweights Training Center, and there was a girl there, Stephanie Morrissey, who went and competed in London, excuse me, for the first time. And she excelled really quickly within the UFC organization. She became a pro really fast, and she kind of promoted it to us. It was really new to people in Newfoundland, and I think it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think the next group to kind of come and compete in Ontario, and then it kind of caught wind, and people kept going.
Amazing. So at that time, you were more into powerlifting. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're seeing like, I don't know if a lot of people see this around the gym. I know I'm seeing it. We're seeing a lot of people do fitness shows like UFE, and then they're doing some powerlifting meets. And then powerlifting people are coming over to fitness shows, and there's kind of this meld where people are going back and forth between the two. So from your perspective at that time, you were doing the powerlifting at Heavyweights, and it specializes at powerlifting over there. Mm-hmm. What intrigued you about doing a fitness competition?
Well, I mean, I have a love for lifting heavy, for sure. That's kind of my foundation for fitness. But I experienced a pretty bad injury quite some time ago, and it's kind of stuck with me, unfortunately. And so I looked at the fitness competition as kind of a way for me to get back into shape. I was an athlete growing up, and I was a varsity athlete, and I was always in really great shape. But after my injury, I became pretty sedentary, and I felt like I needed something to motivate me and to keep me on track to getting back into shape. And powerlifting wasn't really doing it for me. It was making me stronger and, definitely giving me more confidence in the gym, but it wasn't really getting me to where I wanted to be physique-wise. So I wanted to just kind of make that a goal for myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like competition, you started back in 2013 with us. You were, your marital status, you were single. You were not a mother. You're out in Newfoundland kind of doing your own thing. And fast forward in 2019, you're now married. You've got a little one, you've got a little boy. And so what is it about competition that keeps you going at this point?
Well, I think at this point, my career is a big motivator for me. I think it's important for me to stay in the world of competition if I'm coaching people. So I coach, I prep people for shows, specifically for UFE competitions. And I think it also just kind of shows that I'm leading by example in that respect. But I'm the type of person that really does need a goal in order to stick with my routine and to stay disciplined. And I do find that the competitions help me with that.
Amazing. So you actually, you were competing with us for a while, and then you saw some success. You were doing, reasonably well with the competition. Then you got pregnant. You had your little boy, and I think it was actually after that time where you came back, and then you earned your UFE Pro status. Is that right?
Yeah, so actually my very first show was in London, and I came like 14th or something, no big deal. I had no expectations going into it. It was really just a bucket list thing for me. I really had no intention of ever doing it again until I got a taste for the stage. And as soon as I walked off the stage, I knew that I wanted to keep going with it. So that's kind of when I got serious, and I started prepping for Halloween Mayhem, and I placed at Halloween Mayhem. And then I started prepping for an elite show, and I did okay at the elite show. And then after that, I started prepping again for Halloween Mayhem, and that's when I found out I was pregnant. So my prep stopped, obviously. I went immediately to the ice cream store. And yeah, and then so I took a 2-year kind of hiatus. I didn't compete for 2 years. And it just kind of came to me when I was ready to do it again. And I didn't put any pressure on myself. I just knew when I was ready, and I started prepping for uh, Revolution, Dave's show. And I placed in both my categories, and I was just shy of getting my pro card at that competition. So I decided to just keep going for another 6 weeks into the Canada Pro qualifier, and that's where I got my dual pro status in glamour and bikini. So that was pretty cool for me. It was I was pretty proud because I knew that it was harder that time around because I was busier. I was nursing a baby. I was 1 year postpartum. I had a husband. We had a busy life. I had so many more responsibilities, and it was a proud moment to see that I could achieve that goal with all of that going on.
And we saw the little guy posing in front of the UFE backdrop at that show.
Yep.
And we know that he's going to be the future UFE superstar in about 16 years, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of women, see, like I said, I think we talked about this the last time we tried our interview that didn't get through, but a lot of women see fitness competitors and they think to themselves, oh, you know what, she's 25 years old, let's see her, try this when she's 45, or, she doesn't have kids, so that these young whippersnappers don't realize what it's like when someone, has kids, and there's, and I think this is becoming less and less. Like, I think this perception isn't as pervasive as it was, but it still is relatively pervasive. And I know there's a lot of women that still think their body changes when they have kids, and it's always a negative connotation about how it changes. Mm-hmm. So, in your experience, how did your body change, if at all, and how, in regards to how you're able to get ready for a show?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest. When I was younger and I didn't have kids and I didn't have, as many responsibilities as I do now, I thought show prep was hard then. I was one of those young whippersnappers, and it is hard no matter what age you are. It's definitely a difficult thing to stick to, but it is more difficult when you have kids, for sure. And I don't think anyone should take that away. But at the same time, it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. And I've seen many of the Masters competitors that look more fit than the open competitors sometimes. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter what age you are. You can get on stage at any age. It doesn't matter if you have kids. It doesn't matter if you've got a full-time job or you're a student. Anyone can do it. It just depends on whether you want it or not. For me, I gained 65 pounds when I was pregnant. So, I wasn't one of those people who just kind of kept my body and then kept going. I had
Yeah.
a lot of work to do after I had my son. So, yeah, your body changes. It definitely does. But that doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. I did train all through my pregnancy. I think that helped me a lot to get back into a routine postpartum. My body probably did back a little bit better because I kept training, because I made sure to try at least to maintain muscle mass during my pregnancy. But I listened to my body. I mean, every single woman is different. We all go through a different journey in our pregnancy. But no matter what, I mean, you don't have to stay stuck in a body that you don't love. You can always change it. And, it is going to be difficult, but it's definitely possible. And my body now, at this point, 2 years postpartum, I'm more fit than I've ever been. So, not impossible.
Amazing. And I think, yeah, what you touched on is that, yes, we need to acknowledge that there's changes with the body when you get older. The hormones change, lots of different stuff changes. Of course, pregnancy is a major life event. You don't want to say, hey, you just bounce back and you do it. We're not trying to say that. I think
No.
is that we just need to take those self limitations off. Yes, it just requires maybe a different approach. Yes, you need to budget your time differently because, of course, you've got to take advantage of take into consideration a one person in your life. But yeah, I don't think anybody should self-limit themselves, and I think that's kind of a message that you've got across because you have your own business, you're super busy with, you are married, you've got to keep that together. Obviously, that's work with relationships, and of course, a little guy that's still demanding for attention. Speaking of Newfoundland roots, we have Sharon Mallard on the live discussion who says we miss you in Newfoundland. So, so now you're going to be competing in the UFE World Championships. That's going to be November 9th in Toronto. Obviously, it's a really big competition. We call it the greatest stage of them all. Competitors from all around the world. And this is your first time actually using your pro status. So when does your show prep start?
It's already started. I probably realistically started about 8 weeks ago. I've been more flexible than usual up until a couple of weeks ago. I'll have a couple of breaks in between, and then I'll be pretty strict from the end of August right into November.
Amazing. So describe, because this was pretty interesting when we talked about this last time. Kind of break down the way you do your diet for show prep, and of course it's going to evolve over time, but maybe give us an idea of general, number of meals, how you're doing your macronutrient ratios and all that, and then maybe give us a little insight into your training split or how you're training for this show, and then to top it off, maybe let us know how you fit that into your life at this point, because it's obviously not easy. It requires a lot of discipline. So I think a lot of people would like to know how you can fit all that into a busy life.
Yeah, so I do follow flexible dieting, so I count macros. Obviously, most of my food is whole foods, nutritious foods, because you have to fuel your body. You have to have energy for your workouts and things like that. But for me, it's just more, I guess, sustainable long term, especially because I tend to do really long preps, my body responds pretty slowly. So flexible dieting is just more sustainable for me. It allows me to adhere to a diet much better. Um, so I count my macros. I fit treats in here and there on occasion. That allows me to still, partake in events with my family and, take my kid to the park and things like that. So that's just easier for my lifestyle. So basically, we start my macros as high as they can be while still yielding results. And as my body changes, they tend to get lower and lower and lower because my caloric needs will change. And obviously, my body adapts to those calories as we go. So, we kind of start with protein intake and we go, I'm at about 1.2 grams per pound body weight. And then I fill in my carbs and fat from there. And then so that changes as we go. And then when it comes to my training, I have 2 full body days where I do upper and lower different exercises. And then I have 1 glute focus day completely, and then 1 upper body day. So I do train 5 days a week. My workouts are quick and intense because I don't have the time to be in the gym for 2 hours. So I'm typically in and out within an hour, but that's not including my cardio. The way that my cardio is broken down is actually I'm given a set number of steps through the day. I start with the lowest amount of steps when I start my prep, and it increases as I go. So basically, as how my body's responding to that, that's how my steps change. So I started with 10,000, I moved up to 12,000, up to 16. Now I'm up to 18,000, which is challenging because it's a lot of steps within a day. Basically can't sit down. So like right now I'm sitting down. I'm gonna have to go run after this because I have to make up for that time that I'm sitting down. But the steps actually work really well for me, especially as a mom, because I'm able to break it up into any amount of time that I need. So I have a bike in my living room, and in the morning I might get on for 5 minutes if I can. At night before I go to bed, while I'm watching TV with my husband who's on the couch, I'm getting on the bike for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever I need to hit my step target for the day. That works for me because I'm not prescribed 2 hours of cardio at a set time during the day. I just would not be able to adhere to that. So this way I'm able to get my cardio in when I can, how I can.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I think in future, if we do another interview, you can get yourself like one of those Vera desks where you can be like stepping in place during the interview, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting way of cardio. Yeah, very, very rarely have I seen anything like this. Usually it's like, you get some sort of time-based in, or there's a very prescriptive approach where you're going to do the treadmill and it's going to be this amount of time and you're going to be on this incline. So I think I think the way you've structured this is pretty cool for someone who's got a busy everyday life because you just get those steps in when you can. And the results of all this unique training, I guess, are going to be on display at the UFE World Championships.
Yeah.
So kind of leading into that, what is your goal this year at the World Championships?
Well, I mean, I am a competitor. I have a competitive spirit, but I'm also a team player. So I obviously am happy for anyone who succeeds at this sport. But my goal going in is to get top 3. Um, I don't expect that, but that's what I'm working towards. I never go into any show with any expectations. I just go in and I have fun and I do my best on stage, and hopefully I do well. And I think that that's worked well for me in the past because I tend not to really ever be disappointed, which is great. I'm never angry. I always have fun. and it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. I'm not really ever nervous when I get on stage for that reason. So I'm hoping it'll be the same for World. The competition is pretty fierce, but I'm just going in to have fun and do my best.
Amazing. And I think that's a pretty good attitude. And of course, these are competitions, so we want people to go in there and they're trying to win. They're not, just lackadaisy about it. That's, I think, what pushes people to do those 18,000 steps and whatever it's going to become at some point, right?
Yeah.
And it pushes people to have or to be able to cut those macros down and go through the sacrifice it takes. So I think the competition aspect is so important, and it's a motivator. But I think the way yourself and some of the other people look at it is pretty good, because it's more than a competition, right? It's an experience. You're going to be on stage with people all around the world. It's a super cool experience. You're getting to talk and interact with those people and learn. And it really is a sport that, I think above all else, it's about self-improvement, right? So,
yeah.
I kind of like I like your outlook on that. So, I guess what would you say? We kind of touched on the benefits of competing, like how it does push people to strive for self-improvement. In your specific case, what would you say is the biggest benefit that you've got out of competing?
I think the biggest benefit for me would just be that it's pushed me to stay on track with my fitness goals, but it's also kept me kind of in the grind as an athlete. I can't play sports anymore. It was a big part of my life growing up, and this is a sport for me. This is my sport now, and it's kind of kept me in the game, and that's a huge motivator for me, and that's what makes me happy with competing.
Amazing, yeah, and I think that that's a lot of people how they look at it too, especially when they get into their late 20s and beyond. They're not doing competitive sports for the most part anymore, and this is kind of a competitive outlet, and it certainly does require the kind of discipline and pushing of the mind and body that any other sport, and maybe even more so than a lot of sports. So it's a really cool outlet.
Definitely.
Last question I asked you last time, and it was an intriguing answer. One thing I'd say about this sport is it is somewhat a vanity sport, and I don't use the term vanity in necessarily a sinful term, because everybody's got a different degree of vanity. It's a lower degree where it's just, I want to see something in the mirror I'm happy with. Hey, I want to get my confidence back, whatever it is. So, some people take it to the extreme, like, hey, I'm better and better and better. Or, I've had a kid, I want to get into shape super quick. Or, hey, I know I can get into shape way faster if I'm using, drugs of whatever sort, whether it's thyroid boosters, your major fat burners or your diuretics. What's kept you through all these years of not taking a shortcut, saying, I had my kid, I put on 65 pounds. I just want to be in shape like that. And I know these drugs will help me do that. And whatever else, hey, I didn't place as well as I wanted at these shows. Hey, I just want to get in shape like that and make it easier. What's kept you from doing that?
Honestly, before I started competing, I didn't know much about the bodybuilding world. And of course, you see them on Instagram, you see them in magazines and things like that. And when you don't know much about it, you're ignorant to the fact that most of those people are taking drugs. And for me, as an outsider looking in, as a beginner, you know, that was something that what they looked like was kind of something that you're striving for. But what I quickly learned was that wasn't the picture of health. That was the picture of extremism. And that's just never been an option for me, because the way that I always looked at bodybuilding was that when you got on stage, you were the picture of health and you were promoting health. And of course, you know, on show day, you know, you've dieted and you've done things a little bit more extreme than normal, for sure. But when you compete with a natural organization, you're not doing things to jeopardize your long-term health. Specifically for women, a lot of them are taking drugs that can actually ruin their reproductive systems in the future. It can ruin their hormones. And for me, that's just not, it's not something that I've ever been willing to do or even willing to think about. It's never entered my mind, because that's, to me, that's not what bodybuilding is about.
No, love it. And yeah, I think a lot of people do, that they aspire to, you know, whoever, and you know, through the grapevine, eventually they hear that a lot of these people they're looking up to have done kind of the wrong thing, and then they don't look necessarily at those consequences. The one thing I love about UFE and the platform we provide is that when people see some of the highest level of the natural competitors out there, we're going to see people that are pretty darn inspiring and that have done things the right way. You're going to be one of those people on November 9th that people are going to be looking at, and wow, this one's busy. She's got her own business. Speaking of that, I'm just going to pull up the website there, thebarbelles.com, for people who want to learn more about Ashley and what she does as a trainer. But, you know, a woman who's running a business, promoting a business, you know, has a kid, has got back into shape, and is now competing at the highest level and looks amazing and has taken no shortcuts to get there. And yes, maybe it took a little longer, but there she is on there. And I think that's going to be what's really inspiring to the average person out there. And that's kind of the platform we want to give. Mm-hmm. So yeah, awesome. I've loved having you for the organization for now. It's going to be your 7th year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we just see what you bring to the stage on November 9th. And in the meantime, I guess, good luck with the training. Good luck with your 18,000 to 19,000 or whatever it's going to get to at whatever point. Good luck with that. And I guess we're down to about 18 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with the prep, Ashley. And now, is there anything you wanted to say that I haven't touched on? I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything you want to put out there before we close out?
I think just I just wanted to touch on when you said, you know, the sport is kind of vanity driven. And I think, of course, it is in a way, but from an outsider looking in, I think it's important for them to know that even though we're being judged on what our body looks like, we're actually being judged on those months and months and months of training in the gym. That's what we're judged on. And I think as athletes who compete in bodybuilding, we don't look at it as, oh, you know, what do I look like in a selfie, or what do I look like in the mirror? We really do look at the stage as our game day. And that's when we get to play. We had months and months and months of training for this game day. And that's what it's about for us. And, you know, a lot of people kind of misunderstand bodybuilding in that way. And I think it's important to let people know that. And, you know, it is really hard. And I think that, you know, competitors as well, they can have a hard time with trying to get people to understand it. And what we need to kind of keep in mind is that people don't need to really understand it. They just need to support your goal.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting point and a really cool perspective. And I think it really is an outlet for somebody to have that competitive drive, something that anybody can do at any age, with any background, and they can give it everything they've got. And they've got that game day there. So obviously, for somebody to really truly understand it, I think they need to try it themselves, which is why we've got these novice levels out there for first-time competitors and everything. Because an outsider's perspective obviously is always going to be different than doing it from the inside. So, thanks again for your amazing insights, Ashley. I'm glad. I think that it worked. I can see that people are viewing and commenting, so that means we actually made it to the air this time. Catherine is saying, yes, love this, so inspiring. So, Catherine, I'm glad you enjoyed this, and I do think Ashley is somebody who is quite insightful, quite intelligent in this domain, and in general, but especially in this domain. For those who want to learn more about her, we've obviously posted the Instagram. You can follow her on her journey, and then, of course, her website, barbelles.com, right?
.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks again, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.
See ya.